This is part 2 of my experiences with the Sasquatch people here on my land in the Pacific Northwest. There'll be a link below for part 1. This experience happened in 2022. It was early in the summer, about 10 o'clock in the morning, and I was getting ready to go on a walk with my dog. My old girl, Luna, she was having a tough time walking as she was nearly 16 years old. So I was going slow, and I was actually doing lunges just to get some exercise and to go slow so she could keep up with me. So we were walking from my cabin up to my orchard along the tree line when I started to hear it sounded like a man's voice, and it was like clearing his throat and like grumbling and like just making like kind of human sounds, but it was like obvious he wasn't trying to hide, that he was there. And it was, in the deep, thick forest. I couldn't see anyone, but I could definitely hear him. So I called to Luna. I turned around. I wanted to make sure she was safe, and I walked her back and put her into the cabin. And I'm thinking, there's just some weird guy in my forest, and I live on 20 acres, so that's really a weird thing for anybody to be, out in my forest right by my cabin. So I put her away, and I started to stalk this guy. I thought it was a guy, and he just kept making those sounds, and I could hear him, and I was like, oh my God, like he doesn't even care that, that he's being very obvious that he's here. And, I don't have a gun. I don't have anything on me. I'm just like going to confront this person. So I'm like kind of getting behind some big trees, and I'm listening. And I'm like, okay, he's right there. He's about 50 feet away. I'm just going to come out and I'm going to confront him. And it was like this person or this being could read my mind, because all of a sudden he would just be gone. He would not be in that space anymore, and he'd be like 100 feet in the opposite direction. And there wouldn't be any sticks cracking. There wouldn't be any crunchy sounds. I mean, this forest is thick. You can't move through it without, breaking a branch or, making a sound of movement. But the only sounds that he was making were like clearing his throat and kind of making these grumbly, grunting kind of sounds. And it was very human sounding, so I'm getting a little freaked out, because I'm like, how is he moving through the forest like that? It's like he's invisible, and he's moving quickly through the forest, and he's zigzagging around, and it's like he knows my intentions, and he's just not, he's not visible. and so then this went on for I swear it was like 45 minutes. And my heart's racing, and thankfully the sun was out, and it wasn't a scary day. It was, bright and sunny, but it's dark in that forest. So I was like, what is this? How is this person moving around? I'm only thinking it's a person, and I'm thinking it's some weird guy, and I live by myself, and I was like, heart racing, and I'm like, what do I do? So after about that amount of time, I spot him. He's up on the hillside, and he's silhouetted, and he's very stocky. He looks like he's about, I don't know, not quite 6 feet tall. He's got big, broad shoulders and kind of a barrel chest and no neck, and kind of this strange shaped, kind of football-shaped head. And then I'm thinking to myself, there he is. I'm going to come out. I'm going to ask him, what the hell is he doing here? And like he could read my mind again, and he just started making all these crazy like whooping sounds and crazy sounds like he was some like person that had a mental illness or something. And he just started to go straight away from me. And I could hear him making all those sounds for like, I don't know, like 5 minutes or so. Maybe not quite that long. It seems like forever when you're getting scared. And he's heading towards the neighbors. So my heart's still racing. And I go inside and I call my neighbors that are up the road, and I ask them if they can hear anything or if they've seen any weird vehicles up there, because it's a dead-end road. And I guess they were thinking, like, what is wrong with her? And I said, I'm starting to think this wasn't a person. And they're like, what do you mean? They're not real open-minded to the way I think, but they were like, what do you mean? They're like, well, the neighbor over there, he makes some weird noises sometimes, because I was describing the whole situation to him. And they were like, it was probably just him. And I'm like, no, I mean, this thing could move like really fast and you couldn't see him. So it wasn't natural. It wasn't normal. And I could tell that I wasn't going to go into it very far with them, because they already probably thought I was a nut. So anyways, I hung up from them and just kind of like I was contemplating, like, what was that? And I did mention Sasquatch to them, and they just thought, they were like, no way. So anyways, I went inside and I was just thinking about what in the world just happened. Where I keep showing you, where we're looking at right now, is where I have many times now seen the Sasquatch, is over here in this really thick forest, line, and that's where I was stalking Sasquatch, was behind that little old outhouse there, and all the way up onto the hill. And you can see how thick it is. You can't move through that without cracking branches. I swear it felt like this being was floating, like it could just float through the forest. I mean, it wasn't making any sound except for with its voice until I saw it. I mean, even then it wasn't cracking branches, but it was definitely making a lot of noise. And after that happened, I have continued to hear the whooping sounds. I've heard singing, like I thought it was a woman up on the hill, and it was always the same time of night that I would hear it. It was always like right at sunset. And I learned if I made those same sing-song sounds back, that it would answer me and sing back. It never felt threatening. The only time that I've ever felt afraid was this second experience, because I thought it was a weird guy. But honestly, it's never been scary. Actually, since this experience anyway, since then, I have felt like I was being protected by them. Like I feel like there's a family of them here, like there's at least a father and a mother and a child. Seeing the child is another story. When I first got here, my neighbor put up a game camera for me on my driveway, and he caught this image of this little creature, which we couldn't really figure out what it was. It looked like a skinny bear standing upright, walking on 2 feet, and it looked like it was about maybe 3.5 feet, maybe 4 feet tall at the most. Its eyes were glowing, but it was a black and white, photo. It was at nighttime, and so maybe the flash of the camera made the eyes look like it was glowing, but I've always wondered what that was. And I've just started to piece things together, like my first experience with my second experience, and with the footage that my neighbor caught on my driveway, and then other experiences that have happened to me since. So I do have a recording of the Sasquatch with the whoop sounds that I found the other day, and I'm going to be sharing that in my next videos. Yeah, it's pretty fascinating to hear the wood knocks and the whooping at the same time. I was so glad that I had that. I didn't remember capturing that, but that was probably a year after this experience. So I'm fascinated by the Sasquatch, the Bigfoot, the Skookum, Yeti, whatever you want to call them. But I have my theories about what they are, and I, for the most part, don't think we should fear them. I'm sure that there's good ones and bad ones, just like there are people. And so, even out here by myself at all seasons, really quite far from town. I think the nearest town is 25 minutes away. I've never felt afraid. Just this particular time, just because I thought that there was some weirdo in the forest that was spying on me, and here I am doing lunges. So I don't know. I've been doing a lot of research ever since these experiences happened. I've always been interested in the Sasquatch, actually, since that first film came out that I can't think of the name of it right now, but it took place in California, and it was a female. And I know there's that footage. I can't think of what they call it, the Patty something footage. But anyways, that's my experience.